Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I'm Naresh Mago and with me is Saira Mujtaba with the Midday News. The headlines. Home Minister Amit Shah hails Supreme Court verdict in Gujarat riots case, seeks apology from those who levelled motivated allegations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to embark on a 2-day visit to Germany tomorrow to attend the G7 summit. Prime Minister to share his thoughts in the 90th episode of Mann Ki Baat program on All India Radio tomorrow at 11 a.m. Bahujan Samaj Party extends support to NDA's presidential candidate Draupadi Murmu. Indian consignment of humanitarian assistance worth 3 billion rupees arrives in Sri Lanka. U.S. Supreme Court overrules women's constitutional right to abortion. President Joe Biden terms it a sad day for the court and the country. IMD predicts heavy rain in parts of West Coast during next 4 days. In Ranji Trophy final, Madhya Pradesh were 475 runs for 6 wickets in their first innings against Mumbai at lunch on the 4th day. And in second T20 International, Sri Lanka wins toss and elects to bat against Indian Eves at Dambula. Union Home Minister Amit Shah today hailed the Supreme Court's verdict in the Gujarat riots case, saying those who levelled politically motivated allegations should apologize. Yesterday, the Apex Court dismissed a plea filed by Zakia Jafri, challenging the clean chit given by the Special Investigation Team to then Gujarat Chief Minister Narendra Modi and several others in the 2002 Gujarat riots case.
एक भी आरोप टीका नहीं है। मोदी जी बिल्कुल कोई आरोप के बगैर पूरी बात से आज सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजमेंट से बाहर आ गए हैं और आज सत्य का विजय हुआ है। जिन लोगों ने भी मोदी जी पर आरोप लगाए थे, अगर उनकी अंतरात्मा है तो उन्होंने मोदी जी की और भारतीय जनता पार्टी की क्षमा मांगनी चाहिए।
While dismissing the petition, the Supreme Court also held that the petition was devoid of merits. In an interview to a news agency, Mr. Shah said, the court has said that the riots after the burning of train in Godhra were not pre-planned but self-motivated. He asserted that everything was done to control the situation at that time. The minister also said there was no delay from the government side to take steps to control the situation and the army was called that afternoon itself.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा है राज्य सरकार ने दंगा रोकने के लिए भरसक कोशिश की। राज्य सरकार ने उचित समय पर उचित कार्यवाही कर कम नुकसान में दंगों को समाप्त किया और राज्य सरकार ने सुप्रीम कोर्ट द्वारा दी गई विटनेस प्रोटेक्शन की स्कीम को पूरा का पूरा फुल स्टॉप कॉमा में पूरा किया है। और मोदी जी के लिए भी कहा कि मोदी जी ने बार बार दंगा रोकने के लिए मीटिंगें भी करी, अपीलें भी करी, सार्वजनिक अपीलें भी करी और स्थान पर भी गए।
Taking a swipe at the Congress which had protested for days over the interrogation of party leader Rahul Gandhi by the Enforcement Directorate, Mr. Shah said, Prime Minister Narendra Modi set an example showing how the Constitution can be honoured as he was questioned in the case, but nobody staged a dharna. He said Mr. Modi had endured false allegations linked to the riots silently for 19 years because the legal process was on.
19 साल के बाद सुप्रीम कोर्ट की खंडपीठ ने आज जो जजमेंट दिया है, उस जजमेंट से मोदी जी पर लगे हुए सारे गलत आरोप को खारिज कर दिया गया है और ये भी कहा गया है कि कुछ लोगों ने उस आरोपों को पॉलिटिकली मोटिवेटेड तरीके से लगाया था। भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार पर जो धब्बा लगा था वो भी धुला है और मोदी जी जैसे वैश्विक नेता पर जो गलत आरोप लगाए थे, मैं मानता हूं कि लोकतंत्र के अंदर मोदी जी ने संविधान का सम्मान कैसे हो सकता है, इसका एक आदर्श उदाहरण सभी राजनीति में काम करने वाले लोगों के सामने करा है।
Mr. Shah said the judgment clearly mentions Teesta Setalwad's name, who had an NGO that gave such applications involving BJP workers in this case. Union Home Minister Amit Shah and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh have termed the imposition of emergency in 1975 a dark chapter in the history. In a tweet today, Mr. Shah said, on this day in 1975, the Congress snatched the constitutional rights of every Indian by imposing an emergency. He saluted those who've dedicated their lives in the great sacrifice for the restoration of democracy against this dictatorial mindset. Mr. Rajnath Singh, in a tweet, urged the people to dedicate themselves to the defense of democracy and take a pledge to maintain the dignity of the Constitution and institutions. BJP President J.P. Nadda said, the planned and systematic destruction of the country's democratic institutions during the dark days of the emergency by the Congress Party will never be forgotten. In a tweet he said, the country is remembering the great heroes who fought to protect the Indian democracy and constitutional values.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a 3-day visit to Germany and United Arab Emirates beginning tomorrow. He will visit Schloss Elmau for the G7 summit under the German presidency on the 26th and the 27th of this month. The Group of Seven, or G7, is an informal group of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, United Kingdom and United States. The invitation to the G7 summit is in keeping with the tradition of strong and close partnership and high-level political contacts between India and Germany. During the visit, the Prime Minister will also hold bilateral meetings with the leaders of G7 and guest countries on the sidelines of the summit. Briefing media in New Delhi, Foreign Secretary Vinay Mohan Quatra said, besides India, Germany has also invited Argentina, Indonesia, Senegal and South Africa to the summit. Mr. Quatra said the Prime Minister is scheduled to participate in 2 sessions at the G7 summit on Monday.
India's regular participation at the G7 summit clearly points to increasing acceptance and recognition that India needs to be a part of any and every sustained effort to find solution to solve the challenges, global challenges in particular, which are being faced by the world.
The first session relates to climate, energy and health, and the second session is on food security and gender equality. Mr. Modi is scheduled to have interaction with the Indian diaspora at a community event in Germany. After attending the G7 summit, Prime Minister Modi will be travelling to United Arab Emirates on the 28th of this month to pay his personal condolences on the passing away of former UAE President Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan. He will also take the opportunity to congratulate Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan on his election as the new President of UAE and ruler of Abu Dhabi.
Both the leaders have very regularly and continuously nurtured the comprehensive strategic partnership between India and the UAE over the past few years. We are all aware that India and UAE share very close and friendly relations whose foundations lay in our historical people-to-people contacts.
Union Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh today left for Portugal to take part in the 2022 UN Ocean Conference at Lisbon starting from Monday. He will deliver the keynote address at the conference. More than 130 countries will participate in the conference. In his departure statement, Dr. Singh said that under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India would be providing science and innovation-based solutions for the implementation of Goal 14 through partnerships. He said India has well-established collaboration and partnership with UN agencies and research institutions for bridging the methodology and data gaps on SDG indicators.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will share his thoughts with the people in the country and abroad in the Mann Ki Baat program on All India Radio tomorrow. It will be the 90th episode of the monthly radio program. The program will be broadcast on the entire network of All India Radio and Doordarshan, AIR News website and News on AIR mobile app. It will also be live streamed from 11 a.m. on the YouTube channels of AIR News, DD News, PMO and Information and Broadcasting Ministry. AIR will broadcast the program in regional languages immediately after the Hindi broadcast. The regional language versions will also be repeated at 8 p.m. The Bahujan Samaj Party has decided to extend its support to Draupadi Murmu, the NDA presidential candidate in the upcoming elections. Talking to the media, BSP chief Mayawati said that the party has taken this decision keeping in mind that the tribal community is an important part of the party's movement. She said this decision is neither intended to support the BJP or NDA nor to go against the opposition UPA, but keeping in mind the BSP and its movement for making a capable and dedicated tribal woman the president of the country. The Bahujan Samaj Party has only one MLA in the present state assembly, while it has 10 members in the Lok Sabha.
In Maharashtra, the prevailing political situation post the rebellion of MLAs from the Shiva Sena continues to remain uncertain even on the 5th day. The ruling and Shiva Sena rebel MLAs are making allegations against each other.
In Maharashtra, two independent MLAs, Mahesh Baldi and Vinod Agrawal, have written to Deputy Speaker Narhari Chirwar, saying that he cannot suspend any MLAs as a non-confidence motion is already pending against him. This letter was sent after the Shiv Sena has sought disqualification of 12 legislators in the wake of the rebellion led by Eknath Shinde. In Thane, some corporators and office bearers have erected posters in support of Eknath Shinde. In view of the ongoing political instability in the state, Thane District Administration has issued an order banning any kind of political procession or gathering in the district till 30th June. Meantime, Eknath Shinde has alleged that the protection of Shiv Sena MLAs has been removed by order of the Chief Minister and Home Minister. However, Home Minister Dilip Valse Patil has clarified that neither the Chief Minister nor the Home Department has given orders to remove the protection of any MLA in the state. Madhuri Pange, AIR News, Mumbai.
Meanwhile, rebel Shiv Sena leader Eknath Shinde will hold a crucial meeting with his fellow legislators this afternoon in Guwahati. The Shinde camp is likely to address a press meet after the meeting. Over 196 crore 94 lakh COVID vaccine doses have been administered in the country so far under the nationwide vaccination drive. The Union Health Ministry said over 15 lakh 73,000 vaccine doses were administered to the beneficiaries yesterday. A total of 15,940 new COVID cases were recorded in the last 24 hours, as several states and union territories are witnessing a surge in cases. With the increase in cases, India's active caseload has increased to 91,779 and the recovery rate has declined to 98.58%. The Health Ministry said a total of 12,425 COVID patients recovered in the last 24 hours. According to the Health Ministry, 20 deaths were reported in the same period. Union Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia today said that any country that wanted to proceed on the path of growth and development should concentrate on research and development. He said this after laying the foundation stone of the International Center of Excellence for Training in Medical Entomology at the ICMR Vector Control Research Center in Puducherry. The minister also lauded the scientists of the nation for developing the COVID vaccine. The minister is on a 3-day visit to Puducherry and Chennai.
You're listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Home Minister Amit Shah hails Supreme Court verdict in Gujarat riots case, seeks apology from those who levelled motivated allegations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to embark on a 2-day visit to Germany tomorrow to attend the G7 summit. Prime Minister to share his thoughts in the 90th episode of Mann Ki Baat program on All India Radio tomorrow at 11 a.m. Bahujan Samaj Party extends support to NDA's presidential candidate Draupadi Murmu. Indian consignment of humanitarian assistance worth 3 billion rupees arrives in Sri Lanka. US Supreme Court overrules women's constitutional right to abortion. President Joe Biden terms it a sad day for the court and the country. IMD predicts heavy rain in parts of West Coast during the next 4 days. In Ranji Trophy final, Madhya Pradesh were 475 runs for 6 wickets in the first innings against Mumbai at lunch on the 4th day. And in second T20 International, Sri Lanka wins the toss and elects to bat against Indian Eves at Dambula. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
कंपटीशन की अगर आप कर रहे हैं तैयारी तो उनके लिए ऑल इंडिया रेडियो पर हम लाए हैं अभ्यास, एक ऐसा कार्यक्रम जिसमें आप पूछेंगे सवाल व्हाट्सएप नंबर 9289094044 पर या फिर ईमेल करेंगे abhyas.airnews@gmail.com पर और हमारे विशेषज्ञ देंगे इसका जवाब। आपका अभ्यास हमारा प्रयास।
Indian consignment worth 3 billion Sri Lankan rupees arrived at Colombo yesterday as part of the humanitarian assistance extended by India to the island nation. The consignment donated by the people of India consists of 14,700 metric tons of rice, 250 metric tons of milk powder and 38 metric tons of medicines. This is the second consignment under a larger commitment of 40,000 metric tons of rice, 500 metric tons of milk powder and medicines by Government of Tamil Nadu. Gopal Bagle, Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, and ministers from Sri Lankan government, Kahelia Rambukwela and Nalin Fernando welcomed the consignment. India's economic, financial and humanitarian assistance to the people of Sri Lanka stands at over $3.5 billion in 2022. The U.S. Supreme Court has overturned a 50-year-old ruling that recognized a woman's constitutional right to abortion. The court, in a 6-3 majority ruling, upheld a Republican-backed Mississippi law that bans abortion after 15 weeks. The judgment will transform abortion rights in the U.S., with individual states now able to ban the procedure. Half of the U.S. states are expected to introduce new restrictions or bans. 13 have already passed trigger laws to automatically outlaw abortion following the Supreme Court's ruling. President Joe Biden has slammed the U.S. Supreme Court for ending the right to abortion, accusing it of putting women's lives at risk in the name of an extreme ideology. In a White House speech, President Biden said it is a sad day for the court and the country, calling the decision cruel and saying it takes America back 150 years.
And now let's listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव।
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News, Birth of a Nation.
India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
In today's episode, we remember freedom fighter Sucheta Kriplani, who was born on the 25th of June 1908 in Ambala, Haryana. Sucheta Kriplani was the first woman chief minister of an Indian state, serving as the head of the Uttar Pradesh government from 1963 to 1967.
Although Sucheta was known for her iron will and steadfast leadership capabilities, she confessed to being a shy and self-conscious child. In her own words, it was only after witnessing horrific events carried out by the British occupation, most notably the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, that she developed a zeal for the independence movement and found her voice.
Kriplani studied at Indraprastha College and Punjab University. She chose to become a professor of constitutional history at Banaras Hindu University, as the university played a central role in anti-colonial activities.
At the Banaras University, Sucheta met the well-known freedom fighter J.B. Kripalani, who often visited the campus to recruit volunteers for the freedom movement. Later, the two worked closely on earthquake relief in Bihar in 1934 and decided to get married 2 years later.
But Kriplani was 20 years her senior, and the announcement did not find favor with either family. Gandhiji too wasn't pleased, as he felt that family responsibilities might divert Acharya Kriplani's attention from national work. However, Gandhiji later agreed, and Sucheta Kriplani also started joining actively in the Satyagraha marches and soon assumed a leadership role.
Kripalani garnered a public image when she joined the Quit India movement and began working closely with Mahatma Gandhi during the partition riots. She was arrested during the Quit India movement and kept in Lucknow jail till July 1945.
Sucheta's contribution to the freedom struggle was so significant that in 1946 she was appointed member of the Constituent Assembly. She famously sang Sare Jahan Se Acha in the Constituent Assembly on the 15th of August 1947 when India gained independence.
After independence, Sucheta remained involved with politics and was elected as Lok Sabha MP in 1952, 1957 and 1967.
In October 1963, she became the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, the first woman to hold that position in any Indian state. Although Kriplani passed away in 1974, she is still revered in India as a symbol of women empowerment. AIR News salutes the great woman freedom fighter.
We also remember independence activist Hassa, a resident of Amritsar, Punjab, who was executed on the 25th of June 1919. Son of Muhammad Sheikh, Hassa was active in organizing the Hartal on the 6th of April 1919 in Amritsar as part of the nationwide call of Hartal given by Mahatma Gandhi to protest against the Rowlatt Act.
Hassa was tried and convicted in the Amritsar Alliance Bank murder case by Martial Law Commission and executed on the 25th of June 1919. AIR News salutes the brave martyr.
We also remember martyr Videshi Ram, a resident of Santhal Parganas, Jharkhand, who took an active part in the Quit India movement. Videshi Ram was arrested and imprisoned for his nationalist activities, and he died during imprisonment in Dumka jail on the 25th of June 1944. We salute the brave son of the soil.
And that brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
As our nation celebrates the 75th year of independence, a series of events are being organized by the government as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. To commemorate the occasion as a Janutsav, All India Radio News brings its listeners a special quiz on India's freedom movement and its glorious history. The next question of Amrit Mahotsav quiz in English will be shared with the listeners in the morning news on Monday, 27th of June. Celebrate 75 years of India's independence by participating in Amrit Mahotsav quiz with AIR News.
The Coal Ministry has said the domestic raw cooking coal production continues to witness an increasing trend in the current fiscal as well, with production of over 8 million tons. It is 20% more compared to 6.9 million tons during the same period of the previous year. The ministry has targets to increase coal production to 140 million tons by 2030. The ministry highlighted at present domestic raw cooking coal washing capacity is about 23 million tons per annum. It said Coal India Limited is planning to set up and operationalize 9 more new washeries with a capacity of 30 million tons per annum. The ministry estimated after new washeries, the CIL will be able to supply about 15 million tons of washed coal to the steel sector, thereby reducing import of cooking coal.
In Assam, flood scenario has improved during the past 24 hours. Assam State Disaster Management Authority informed that the number of affected districts has also come down to 28 from 30. A total of 3,510 villages are still under the flood water, and over 2,65,000 people have taken shelter in the relief camps. The situation in the 3 districts of Borak Valley continues to be critical.
The Indian Air Force is conducting flood relief operations in Assam and Meghalaya. Since June the 21st, the Air Force has flown around 74 missions, rescued 253 stranded persons, and dropped more than 200 tons of relief material as part of humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operation. The IAF has deployed C-130J Super Hercules, AN-32 transport aircraft, Mi-17V5 helicopters, advanced light helicopters, Dhruv, and Mi-17 helicopters to provide relief aid and supplies to people stranded in these areas. The IAF operations are under progress in coordination with the civil administration.
The India Meteorological Department has predicted heavy rainfall along the west coast during the next 4 days. Talking to AIR News, senior scientist R.K. Jinamani said Widespread rainfall is also predicted over the northeast India and sub-Himalayan West Bengal and Sikkim during the next 5 days.
IMD has given the active monsoon alert, that is the very heavy rainfall, orange alert for Maharashtra coastal area, that is Konkan, Goa, including Mumbai, and then also Gujarat and Karnataka. And presently, actually monsoon is subdued over central India, not much rainfall. And northeast India the rainfall has been reduced. And for the northwest India, it is mainly dry weather, no chance of rain, including Delhi till 27.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has warned that the world is facing the real risk of multiple famines this year. In a video message to the Uniting for Global Food Security Ministerial Conference in Berlin, he said 2023 could be even worse because of the growing shortage of food around the globe. UN Secretary General said the war in Ukraine has added to the disruptions caused by climate change, the coronavirus pandemic, and inequality to produce an unprecedented global hunger crisis already affecting hundreds of millions of people. Mr. Guterres said all harvests will be hit, including rice and corn, affecting billions of people across Asia, Africa, and the Americas, and this year's food access issues could become next year's global food shortage. He warned that no country would be immune to the social and economic fallout. Mr. Guterres said UN negotiators are working on a deal that would enable Ukraine to export food and let Russia bring food and fertilizer to world markets without restrictions.
In the second T20 international cricket match, Sri Lanka won the toss and elected to bat against Indian Eves at Dambula. Sri Lanka was 37 for no loss in 5.4 overs when reports last came in. Harmanpreet Kaur-led Indian women team made a positive start of their Sri Lankan tour with a convincing 34-run victory in the series opener on Thursday, taking a 1-0 lead. Chasing a target of 139 runs set by India, the hosts were restricted to 104 for 5 in the stipulated 20 overs. They also played 3 ODIs in Sri Lanka. The tour is the first series for India in the post-Mithali Raj era, with a 39-year-old announcing a retirement from all forms of cricket a fortnight ago.
In the Ranji Trophy final, Madhya Pradesh were 529 for the loss of 9 wickets when reports last came in their first innings against Mumbai on the 4th day today at the M. Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bengaluru. With a lead of 155 runs, now Madhya Pradesh is in a comfortable position. For Madhya Pradesh, Yash Dubey made a valuable contribution of 133 runs, while Rajat Patidar and Shubham Sharma also scored 122 and 116 each. Earlier, Mumbai finished their first innings at 374. Sarfaraz Khan top scored with 134 runs, while Yashasvi Jaiswal added 78 runs.
Now let us take a look at the weather update for the day. The national capital Delhi is expected to have a partly cloudy sky. The minimum temperature was recorded at 27 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 41 degrees. Mumbai is likely to have a generally cloudy sky with heavy rain. Chennai is expected to have a thunderstorm with rain. Kolkata is likely to have a generally cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. Srinagar, Jammu and Muzaffarabad are expected to have a mainly clear sky. Leh and Gilgit are also likely to have a mainly clear sky. Hyderabad and Thiruvananthapuram are likely to have a generally cloudy sky. And Imphal, Aizawl and Kohima are expected to have a partly cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Home Minister Amit Shah hails Supreme Court verdict in Gujarat riots case, seeks apology from those who levelled motivated allegations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to embark on a 2-day visit to Germany tomorrow to attend the G7 summit. Prime Minister to share his thoughts in the 90th episode of Mann Ki Baat program on All India Radio tomorrow at 11 a.m. Bahujan Samaj Party extends support to NDA's presidential candidate Draupadi Murmu. Indian consignment of humanitarian assistance worth 3 billion rupees arrives in Sri Lanka. U.S. Supreme Court overrules women's constitutional right to abortion. President Joe Biden terms it a sad day for the court and the country. IMD predicts heavy rain in parts of West Coast during the next 4 days. In Ranji Trophy final, Madhya Pradesh were 529 runs for the loss of 9 wickets in their first innings against Mumbai when reports last came in. And in second T20 international, Sri Lanka have won the toss and elected to bat against the Indian Eves at Dambula. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.gov.in and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the Midday News.